Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individual speakers, commentators, guests, experts, and our hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network, broadcaster, channel, and/or program's policy or the views held by this network, broadcaster, channel, or program. The network, broadcaster, channel, or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program.
Hello, Fem Talk Nation. We are glad that you are here. So without further ado, because we've got a lot to discuss this evening, without further ado, I'm going to bring the ladies of Fem Talk. We have Shima Shishi Talks.
Hey, Fem Talkers.
Hey, Shima Shishi. And we have Dr. Melissa Simmons.
Hello, Fem Talk Nation.
Hey, Dr. Mimi.
Yeah.
Dr. Mimi, that's her name, Dr. Mimi.
Dr. Mimi.
All right. So listen, everyone. We're going to start off with Ask Fem Talk. Okay, you all know how this goes. If you have any burning questions that you want us to answer, you want some insight and opinions and just some good advice, send us your questions at femtalktv@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to air your question on the show and give you the answers that you're looking for. So tonight's question is, I never wanted kids, but I've been dating someone with 2 kids for 3 years now. I'm trying to change because I do love him. This is an adjustment. Is it easy to be a stepmother? What is expected of me? Yeah, this is a good one.
Well, immediate, no, it's not easy. And then we can go ahead. Either way. Not easy either way.
Right. And I will say this too, because in this, and just picking apart a little bit the words in here, but I noticed that this person said, I do love him, right? But not the kids. So just wondering, and I'm just going to put that out there, wondering how the person feels, how this woman feels about the children.
Right.
Because it's not easy being a step parent to someone else's kids. One, because you have to learn the kids and adjust with the kids, but then you also have to be mature enough to deal with the parents, right? Your significant other and the other parent in this situation. So it's definitely not easy. And it depends on the personalities and attitudes and character of all parents involved. Mature people, I will say this, mature people will learn how to do what's best for the children and come together so that the children can thrive and have, a happy existence amongst all adults involved. But that's the mature answer. That's not the easy answer. That's just the mature answer. But it's not. It doesn't come easy. But it takes, the parents of the kids to help foster a relationship with the step parent. It is really the responsibility of the parents to help that relationship grow and kind of come together and to make sure that they're all in alignment with how the kids are being raised. I know, I have a child. I have a son, and I would want the other person, first and foremost, to love my child. That's number one, and always want what's best for my child and put that in front of themselves as an adult, right? But also to be able to commune with me to say, what is expected here. And it doesn't mean that they have to do everything my way, because that's not how that works. But it does mean when it comes to what's best for the child and understanding how I want my child raised, to have that level of understanding, right? And to move in that direction. And as long as there's things that are not opposite or opposing or going to be detrimental to my child, then, we can all just work together, right? It doesn't have to work exactly the parent's way, but it should be close. It should be close. So I would say it's expected for you to first love the children, right? And build a relationship with the children and respect the children. And hopefully you have respectful opposing parents that you all can respect one another and raise the kids in the way that is best for the children. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn
Mm-hmm.
now. Now that I I should say, pay more attention to the question,
Mm-hmm.
because she says she's been dating him for a while.
Mm-hmm. 3 years.
Yeah, that's a long time
Mm-hmm.
to date someone with children when you never wanted children.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna assume two things. One of two things. You thought that you would have no interaction with those children in the process when you began dating him, because it went on 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You already knew that you did not want children, but at some point you had to be open to being around children because you continued to date the man. And I'm with you with the fact that she doesn't, or he, is a he or she, I don't know.
She is a
It's a
she.
she.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say how she feels about the children.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe you feel that, you have some feelings for them because you stuck around for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can get that part out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Because you should have been running for the door if you didn't want any children or
Yeah.
anybody else's children.
Yeah.
So I can understand not wanting to give life to children, off from your own. Um, I don't understand not wanting to give love to other children, and you're in a relationship with a man who has children. So I'm not gonna. Oh, uh,
And hello to the dryer.
well, this is Fem Talk. You guys know how it goes here. um, I would say the dryer threw me off.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's not going to be easy, even if you were those children's parent. It's not easy for the parents. It's
Mm-hmm.
not easy for the step parents. Raising children is a job, whether
Yeah.
you're the secondary caregiver or the original, the primary caregiver. It's a job.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's not going to be easy. What is expected of you is exactly, I agree with Tracy said, to love those children, to rear them in a way that they grow, and that you have the best concern for their future and for their lives as their stepmom. And as you love the husband or the boyfriend, you love them and
Mm-hmm.
all that comes with it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And
For some, you never
I'm
want.
can I
I'm
say one really quick thing, Dr. Mimi? Just because I'm all about health, but health is all encompassing, right? It's the idea of it all is to help raise healthy children. Because once a household is broken, once parents are not together, right? It's difficult to raise children when it's a single parent, or the parents are in different places and doing different things. And the idea of it all is to everybody to come together to raise healthy children, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? That's the idea of it. So go ahead, Dr. Mimi.
I had a stepmom,
Mhm.
and I know I made it difficult for her
Me too.
because that's what children do. Children, they don't understand dating. Children don't understand boyfriend, girlfriend. They understand mommy, daddy. And anybody who comes in between mommy, daddy is a threat to a child.
Is the culprit.
So, I mean, just the question alone tells me the person has not interacted with these children on a serious basis. To ask, is it easy, is to me just, and I don't want to be rude, but it's kind of ignorant. Like, you must not have been around children. It's not even easy to babysit a child, much less much less to be a step parent. So I think, you're talking about, you've had a 3-year relationship with a man who kept his kids away from you. But if it goes on, I think he's saying you have to get involved. And it doesn't sound like you're ready to get involved, because that means that there was a purposeful avoidance of children in your life up to this point. So I think you need to really really get around these children to see if you'll find out how easy it's not.
I like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Mhm.
just the question alone tells me, oh, you haven't been around the kids.
Yeah.
Because the kid's going to give you a run for their money.
Mm.
And to ask the question, then
Okay.
you answer yourself that question after you've been around them a little while.
Yeah.
And then now you see, is it worth the love you think you have? Is that the love you want to go with?
Yeah.
I think experience teaches its own lesson. And that's what needs to happen because
Absolutely.
like you said, Tracy, every child is different. Every situation is different. You don't know what you're walking into, and you don't know how those kids are going to react.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over time. I ended up loving my stepmother dearly.
Not from the door. That's
But
right.
not
With you.
absolutely not from the door. It took I was 20 something by the time I said, "Oh, I think I like her."
Right. Right. Yeah, you know what, Dr.
I was 9 years old. So
yes.
this is a process.
Yes, it is.
And I think, sweetie, you need to get a little bit more experience on the process. Yeah. I'm sure you'll answer your own question.
I have to agree with you with the dating part with that. Even my dad was an avid dater after my mom and my dad separated. And I didn't want to die like none of them. Let's just be honest. I was polite because I had to be. My mother, my parents wouldn't have it any other way.
I wasn't polite.
But I mean, I didn't curse them. I didn't do derogatory things like that. But I was not I wasn't. Oh, I love her. You did this week. Okay. Until I got to the point where there was someone who was adamant that they loved my dad and they were going to love us just the same. Mm. And then, like you said, it took years.
Yeah. Well, you know what, too? I want to say something really quick, too, because they've been dating for 3 years. This person's question, they've been dating for 3 years. Maybe it's time for you and the person that you're dating to assess where this relationship is even going, right? Before you even have to think about being a stepmother. Right, because we don't even know where they are in their relationship. And you may not necessarily even need to be around the kids if, this relationship is not going to go to the next level.
But isn't that a long time, though?
3 years. 3 years is a long time, right? But it could be 3 years that's not so serious, right? Or 3 years that is serious. We don't have all the facts here. So, if they're dating and they're enjoying each other, but they're not sure if they want to go to the next level, then maybe it's not necessary to meet the kids or be around the kids or have significant time with the kids, right? So maybe they need to sit down and assess, where are we and where are we going before I even have to think about being a stepmother.
Sounds like a fun relationship right now.
Yeah. And then assess where you are with him first, right? And ask him, what does he expect of you as a stepmother, right? Because that may give you some answers too. What does this man expect of you as a stepmother? And what does the other parent, the mother of these kids, expect of you as a stepmother? It needs to be a discussion first, before she even has to say, I need to really be around these kids and embrace these children, right? They need to have a discussion
on her own feelings.
Say it again.
It doesn't sound like she knows if she wants to be bothered. Absolutely. So that might be what she needs to address first.
Absolutely.
You don't want any of your own, and that is your choice. But do you want to be a stepmom? Mm-hmm. You're looking for it to be easy, or what the level of hardship is going to be, without deciding, is that even something I want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't want to, don't, because it won't be a good situation for anybody.
It's right? Not fair to him, not fair to the kids. So
absolutely.
All right. Sounds like where you need to go, girl.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about what's been happening, ladies.
Topic.
Right. Anything that you want to share before we move on to something that's trending in the news these days?
Anything you want to share about what's been going on?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot's been going on. I'm still trying to kind of adjust to all the getting ready for the summer and planning and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to kind of breaking it open. This is the first weekend of the summer, Memorial Day weekend. So, looking at places and stuff like that. I think I'm looking forward to. There's something about after Memorial Day weekend, like you just feel like you could just, now summer's here, let's do something. So I think I'm excited about that. Definitely.
I think I'm excited, I guess, on the forefront and the after, because I've already kicked off my summer with a very nice girls' trip to Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona. Never been there, had a great time. And the second half is a different girls' trip in Vegas that starts Thursday.
Woo-hoo.
So I'm really gonna bring in Memorial Day on a nice trip. And I'm very excited about summer. Can you tell?
I was gonna say the hair color is going, girl.
The spicy hair is telling it
got
all.
Stay tuned for ginger hair all summer.
Yes, I love
I
it.
love it. But
Love.
small little hot topics in my own life, I guess.
Yeah, well, you guys know I'm gearing up for graduation. My son is graduating
Yes.
high school, so I'm not really gonna be an empty nester because he's not leaving to go to school. However, Mama's gonna be grown because he's gonna be grown. So just looking forward to what's to come after graduation is over and enjoying the summer. We already have a cruise scheduled for the summer, and just celebrating two graduates. Actually, my cousin and my son, they were both born on the same day and graduating high school, and so we are going to celebrate them on a cruise.
Yes.
So excited about that. And then I'm like you, Dr. Mimi, I'm going to be looking for, okay, what's next after that? After that, yes.
I love that when you go into that second phase of parenthood, where they're not now it's relationship building. Now it's I'm not mommy telling you what to do. I'm mommy kind of talking to you, communicating, and really building a new type of relationship.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed that. I enjoy that transition. My kids, they don't always think that that's what I'm going to do, but I do it, and they go, "Huh, interesting." But I it's a nice part of this part of life. Is I just came from my daughter's house. She made some dinner for us, and it's that kind of thing where you just watch them grow. And I give advice to them when they ask for it, if they ask for it, and most of the time you just listen and just watch them grow. So this is a beautiful time, Miss Tracy, Coach Tracy. Have some fun. It's new season.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to the next topic. Oh boy, put your seatbelts on, buckle up, everyone.
Look, I'm already crossing my
sure a lot of you have already been on this ride.
Matter of fact, get your Bible out, please, as you start to discuss this topic. Pull your Bible out. But we want to talk about
and your hand sanitizer.
Whether or not, and put the baby all away. Okay, I just gave it away. But we want to know whether or not you've been keeping up with the Diddy trial, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs. We're going to give all his names that we know of right now. But if you've been keeping up with the trial. So I'm going to say, Dr. Melissa, talk about, Cassie's testimony, because, she was the very key witness in this case who has now testified to all of the occurrences, right, dealing with this Puff Daddy trial. So, talk about her testimony.
From the perspective, I'm going to come from a perspective of building a case. And I think the prosecution has done a good job. Her getting up there, and God knows how they even prepped this woman. But her ability to go through these situations she has been in is near miracle, in my opinion. To have literally listened to what she, not listened, but heard what she has said, what she has been through, I think lays the foundation for anybody else coming next. Is to say, and there's no sense of that she's lying. There's too much evidence that she's not lying.
Yeah.
What she has endured, to be able to recant what she has experienced, I think the prosecution has laid a strong foundation for everybody else to come after, because nothing's going to be nothing's going to be that didn't happen. Because you're going to say, well, yeah, I guess it did, because you did it to this one. You did it.
Right.
She is telling you what was done to her. So everybody coming next, really, it's just going to sound familiar. And it's going to be hard to, this is not a, his defense was this is about a relationship with somebody he loved. Not so.
Well, she admittedly, right, here I go playing devil's advocate, right? And I'm just, listen, this is not opinion. This is just what it is. She admittedly said that she loved him, right? And there was a question that the defense lawyers asked her. And that question was, were you able to leave? Like, was anybody forcing you to stay? So, of course, the defense is going to build a case now against her based on things like that, because she was not being held down. She was not being tied up. Those things were not happening. She was held with
there's evidence. See, that's what I'm saying. She laid enough down that there is evidence that every time she thought she would leave, that he beat her.
Well, yes, beat her, but she admittedly said if she wanted to walk out the door, she could have. She did. This is what they asked her, and she did. She said this. This is not, again, this is not opinion. This is the picture, because you got to look at the prosecution and the defense and the picture that each side is going to pose, right? Because they've even been saying that clearly this is a domestic abuse case, right? But they've been saying, how do we, and this is, again, these are recaps because there's no cameras there, so we can't actually hear all of the testimony. These are all recaps, but they've been saying, how is the prosecution going to continue to support the trafficking, the sex trafficking, and the racketeering? So this is what they want to make sure.
And that's what I'm saying, that she is laying the foundation. That she was part of this whole process, and in her role, this is what she endured during her time with him, and the prosecution, like, I'm not even a lawyer, and I know when you are an abused woman, most of them do love their abuser. Most of them do endure all of this stuff. So nobody's surprised nor even moved that she says this. I don't think they're moved enough. I think they're more disturbed by what was done to her.
Yeah. The thing is,
done to her was not something that had nothing to do with love.
It
had nothing to do, and the abuse she endured, that and that was the thing. It'd be one thing if it was just him and her. The difference was that there was more people involved, and that's where you start building the case.
But I do have to say that she did exhibit. We didn't see an exhibition of love, but the way that she explains not why she did it, but what she did and how she did, depicts love for him and his wishes. And I'm pretty sure they're going to make sure that the prosecution understands and the jury understands that is where she was coming from. Because when she spoke specifically with details that say he didn't like this. He preferred this. This
which,
made him happy.
which
When
also
I did
builds the manipulation.
exactly.
Because when you are now saying I love you, then what would you do for me? It's just like Bonnie and Clyde, right? It's the same. It's the case all over Bonnie and Clyde, where if you love me enough, you'll rob that bank.
Exactly.
If you love me enough, so when you love somebody enough that they will that you will now help them with their crimes. That's why. Exactly. And I think, and that's what's being built right now. And that also brings the strength to her testimony, because she's not lying. This is what I did for the man I loved. As sick as it all sounds, because I loved him, I did it.
And don't get me wrong, I understand that. And there's some serious manipulation here, right? And he was very strategic in his manipulation, because when it came to calling the suitors, I'm going to put it that way, right? It was her doing the calling. It was her that, and she admitted this, right? It was her who set up the appointments with all of the escorts that came in to now perform all of these sick acts that were being described there. But that's the manipulation part of it was very strategic, because she did all of the legwork around making sure that these things happened out of her love for him. And I'm putting up my quotes because we can only go by what was recapped in the court. But I'm saying, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't know, but is it strong enough? And this is why I'm saying is it strong enough to build a case on sex trafficking and racketeering, right? The abuse and the manipulation is absolutely clear. But
remember, she's just the first witness of many.
Understood.
The first witness that is, and this is the key. She is laying down these are the heinous acts he did. And I wasn't alone. I'm telling you why I did it. When people come and they say I was forced to, or I thought I had to, and he threatened me. See, that's where the case starts building. It's now with everybody else. And was so and so there? Did you see Cassie? Did you? That's the point. It's to give the credence to
build on
exactly to build that he did these heinous things. To her and many others.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see now who comes forth. I will say this: Monique, the comedian, testified, and she spilled a lot and came with receipts. Right? She had support for the things that she spilled, and she did not just speak about Puff Daddy's involvement. She spoke about others as well and their involvement, and how deep the manipulation and I want to say the strategic setup around all of this, and the support and just it's almost like the club, right?
Well, it's talking about, back in the day, this is what, The Godfather is all about. This is what, this is the intricate building of even corporation.
Deeper. Yeah, it goes even deeper than that. And there's so much involvement here. So Monique definitely did. When she testified, she definitely spoke of others' involvement with.
She didn't name people though, did she?
Oh, yes, she did.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, she did. She named people outright.
I didn't see the list of the names.
Yeah. She definitely named people, and that'll be a sidebar for us. But she definitely named people. But the trial is still going on, right? So not to mention names here, right? Because this is a legal matter, so we don't want to put the names out there. Allow the federal government to do what they do, right? Which is the reason why this is not being aired, right, live for people to see. Because they probably don't want all of this outside influence coming in, and they need to continue to build cases around the sex trafficking and the racketeering, because these things don't happen in silos, right?
Right. And other charges is going to, this is how you get other people to testify. You said, okay, if you testify, we won't charge you with all of this. You'll get charged. You know what I'm saying? So all of this is going to come into play, especially now as I'm sure people are shaking in their boots right now because, if you were there, if you was part of this, and now that it's like you said, the pieces are being put together, I think their ability to now negotiate or make deals with some of these people that really come out. And we may mention that a lot more of the depth of the crime wave that this is all about is going to also come to light.
Absolutely.
Because federal investigators are already talking about other cases they want to attach to this because they're getting more proof about a lot of things. And I go back to, I'll just say this, I go back to my my brother called Cat Williams, and on Club Shay Shay, and he told the truth. He said this is how this whole industry works. I didn't want to be a part of it, but a lot of people were.
Yep, and many others have spoken out in the past. God bless DMX and rest his soul. But this was something that he mentioned. He talked about the industry a lot. He even wrote a song about it. But he talked about it a lot, and just the manipulation. And I even think at one point he was just calling it the devil, right? Like he talked about the industry a lot and the things that happened, and he didn't want to be a part of it either. So there have been a lot of people that have spoken out over the years, and we'll start to see that come out. As they continue to recap this, they're going to go back also, because they're going to start to mention people that were trying to put the word out, trying to warn people before,
calling a spade a spade. They have clips running now. Wendy Williams on her show, how often she mentioned his the level, the type of things he was doing, and what she called it. She called out the crime. And because of that, she was threatened too. So, and it always goes back to, why hasn't he had, a lot of people say, they always want to hold a black man down, but he wasn't given bail, rightfully so, because of his ability. Yes. His reach is long.
They even mentioned, because he was asking for bail and he was asking to be on house arrest at his Miami home. And they made a case to say, no, this can't happen because most of the acts happened in your home.
It wasn't about a flight risk. It was about you being home, able to call people in and out and still hold them, make those threats that you say one thing and this is what's going to happen to you. I'm sure the paperwork and records he has or had was part of it. He had things with people.
They talked about, the NDAs that people had to sign, right? Before, being in this
the MDA not to
parties,
freak
offs as they call them.
The ones that the MDA to not talk about what he did to Cassie, like when she came to her friends. I mean, it's just unfortunate. I every once in a while you hear something, and I know for me, I always say, Lord, protect, like heal, and I what a healing that woman needs, that she's probably already had, and what she continues to need to have, just to get up every day and live her own life. So I think at the end of the day, my heart goes out to her, and my prayers go out to her in the sense of for all that she endured. I'm sure she knows now that life was not normal, that she'll forever be changed from it. But to think that now, she's also pregnant right now, but now she's going to raise her own child. What she now gives to her child, what she now gives to her own life, her own husband, you know what I'm saying? So how does that move on? So, I just hope the best for her.
Yeah. And for all of the victims that come out, right? Because we know that they're numerous, right? And it's going to be people that are known in entertainment and then people that are not. So I want to just say, prayers for them as well, because they've endured much of what Cassie was brave enough to come out and speak about. But there's so many people, so many victims involved here. So we just want to pray for all of them.
The victims.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about our topic for this evening. right, and we are back, everyone. So let's bring the ladies back in. She Talks and Dr. Melissa Mimi Simmons. Bring them back in. All right. Here we go. So we are talking about menopause tonight, everybody. So what is deemed as not such an attractive topic. However, it's something that needs to be talked about. And there was a special that was done by Oprah recently, and Halle Berry and Naomi Watts and Maria Shriver. I just want to mention all of them because they have been advocates for menopause as they have started to go through their own menopause symptoms and dealing with menopause and dealing with healthcare. So we want to talk to you all about that. It's a very sensitive subject, and it's something that people don't like to talk about in public, but it needs to be said because there's so much that happens to a woman when she is going through perimenopause and menopause, and we want to talk about it, and we want you to get the help that you need.
And I want to say, why don't we talk about it and what has held us back from talking about it? Mm-hmm. More importantly, the numbers. Mm-hmm. 1 billion women right now are experiencing menopause. 1 billion. Mm-hmm. There is no reason why we can't talk about menopause.
Absolutely.
1 billion.
Mm-hmm. And if you get to a certain age, you're gonna go through it at some point.
It's inevitable.
Right.
It's inevitable.
Right.
And to understand the symptoms, to talk about it so that you can bring knowledge and even help to your situation is I think paramount. I'll share this one thing. And we did have a funny. We talked about step parents, stepmother and all that earlier. My stepmom, she has passed away, but she passed away. She had a stroke, and as time went on, and the doctor was trying to figure out like what caused it, some of the conclusions was menopause. Mm-hmm. That the symptoms that she was experiencing and were not addressed led to an imbalance in her system, and the imbalance then caused other reactions, which led to sugar increases, and she ended up having a stroke. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say, obviously, that's one of the more rare cases, but the symptoms of premenopause, perimenopause, as it's known, are ones that are real symptoms, and we can't just keep on, understanding where they're coming from is important. Mm-hmm. Like Oprah, like Halle Berry, like and Naomi Watts, like Maria Shriver, when I went to the doctor and told them the symptoms I had when I was about 43, 44, 45, they said, oh, that's not, I said, am I in menopause, going through perimenopause? And they said, no, you're not going through that. And I absolutely was.
Right. Focusing only on your age.
I absolutely was. I went to my GYN and told them the symptoms I had, and they immediately told me that's not menopause. You're not going through menopause or perimenopause. Now, mind you, the ignorance in my head was this is menopause. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about perimenopause, and and let's understand that those are the symptoms that most women are experiencing.
The precursor.
And it's not a precursor, to your point, because by the time that's over, that's when your body is kind of like regulates itself now, because of now the hormones that trigger all of the symptoms are before that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the symptoms, right? Yeah. So people are aware of, what to look out for, if they're going through it or if it starts to happen, right? Let's talk about some of those symptoms, right? Of course, we know irregular periods, right?
And let's stop there real quick, Tracy, because that's the first symptom you'll see. Mm-hmm. And it's irregular to your regular period, meaning whatever your regular menstrual cycle is. If you for since you was 13, this is how it's been. Since you was 10, this is how it's been. Right. Over the last, in your 20s, this is how it's been. What you see, what you deem to be regular now changes out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
That is usually the first sign of premenopause, perimenopause,
Mhm.
because of the triggers that are not happening in your hormones. And I think, what I thought it was I don't even know what I thought it was. All I knew is I used to be regular 3 days a month. I was in, I was out, I was done. And all of a sudden, around 40 something years old, can't even remember, it was 43, 44, 45, because it's not, it just came, and all of a sudden I'm like 10 days
Mhm.
from out of nowhere.
Well, you mentioned something very key, and it spans all women, because anything that is different from what you have normally experienced, like if you have women who, like you said, 3-5 days, they're done, pushing it to 10 during this time. Think about those women, because it happens to them as well, who never had a regular period, who have had, sporadic periods, but you've always had sporadic periods. And then all of a sudden, there's none.
There's none.
Mm-hmm.
That is still some of the symptoms you want to pay attention to.
And that's why I said, whatever the change is for
Whatever
you.
the difference is.
And I think that's what we also have to understand about perimenopause and menopause is it's specific to you, and it's your process and how you have gone through your menstrual cycles.
Yeah.
Because it's building on what's in your body. Never knew these numbers. Most of us are born with 1 to 2 million eggs for us to ovulate every month.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was that many. But as the years go on, in your 30s, that 1 to 2 million drops to like 20%.
Yeah.
Right, 25,000. Can you imagine
Yeah.
you had 1 million and now you're at 20? So you imagine how many eggs have been going through your just to do that once a month, extravaganza, as we call it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it drops in your 30s, and now when it gets to your 40s, the key, you're at 1 to 3% of those eggs. And it's that triggers, because your body knows that it goes through this, because it's your brain. Your brain is very systematic, and everything wants to do the same thing every month, because our bodies are machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every month it wants to do the same thing. But guess what? They used to have 1 million to work with. Now they only have 10,000,
Right.
5,000, 1,000.
And now it's working.
One thing I do want to say here, though, is it's not just the period, though. So you may be, your period may still be steady, and you may be experiencing some of the other symptoms. So I do want to mention that, because sometimes you're still having a period, it's ongoing, it's your normal 3 to 10 days or whatever it is, but you might be experiencing problems with sleeping. Your moods might be changing, right? So other things may start to happen in perimenopause before you even get to the point where your periods are now irregular, because the period is the telltale sign, right? But there are things that could happen before that even starts to take place, where now you need to have, just some awareness of, well, I could be now experiencing perimenopause. Let me start to pay attention. Let me put some steps in place. Let me now go to the doctors. And you have to, and they've mentioned this on the special as well, you're going to have to find the right doctor because as you heard Dr. Melissa say, and so many other women have testified to this, a lot of doctors don't even understand menopause. So when you go in and you start talking about some symptoms that you're having, they don't denote this to menopause, because they don't think that that's what it is. And then they try to say that you're experiencing something else. And lo and behold, all along it was perimenopause.
Perimenopause, right?
Yeah.
And even the doctor that was on the special, Dr. Mary Claire Harbour, she admitted as a GYN, she did not know anything about perimenopause and menopause. And it was only when she started having her own symptoms that she even began to look into it. And, let's go through, like Tracy, let's talk about some of the other symptoms that women are experiencing, because you're right. I think once you see a shift in anything in your body, you need to be more aware, why is this happening?
Right.
We talked about the irregular periods. Again, what's irregular to you? Vaginal dryness, hot flashes. A lot of people know about the hot flashes, but the night sweats, sleep problems,
Right.
hard to fall asleep, or you're too
Or hard
sleepy,
to say.
right? Mood changes. This is a big one, a huge one. Mental changes, mental anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
trouble. A lot of people can't find words, so trouble with remembering words. They call it a brain fog. Fog. I used to always talk about it, and Shima, you remember this. I used to come in certain days. I said I have a foggy brain today, so don't. And I used to ask Shima. You remember? I used to ask, don't let nobody come to me with a serious question today. I used to talk about my foggy brain. I swear I made that thing up. Because there was some days I just couldn't think, could not think, and I said, ask them, please don't put nobody in front of me with no $1 million question today.
No big decision making things today.
I have a foggy brain, but that's a real symptom, a very real symptom. They also call it adult ADHD because a lot of people can't, their attention span, they lose their attention span. Like what you had patience for before, you have no patience for now.
Absolutely. And what's so
And I think
crazy
that's
about so
big
many
one.
things, they overlap. These symptoms overlap other illnesses. They overlap themselves as symptoms.
Yep.
So we're so bombarded by so many things that it could be. You just hope that you run into the right people who will take the time to test you well, to monitor you well, and to give you the right advice. This could be this, but it very well may be this at your age or at this stage in life.
And that's something to mention too, right? Because a lot of these symptoms, they will just chalk it up to, aging, right?
Something
And
different.
it's not, and it's not that.
Because just like any other situation we go through, there's ways to deal with it. There are things to do. There's therapies to do in order for you to handle it. Because with some people, it's so severe, it kind of stops their ability to function. It's so severe. Some other ones, hair loss. And I'm gonna put my hand up because I had at least 5 of these symptoms that I've already mentioned. Sex problems, pain during sex. I mentioned the vaginal dryness, but not just dryness, pain, a little pain, like what used to feel good all of a sudden doesn't feel good. Like you can't do that anymore.
Exactly.
And whoever you're enjoying your sex with, it's like, well, you used to love that,
right?
Not no more.
And don't just leave it in that area for just the dryness of the
move it over.
It can be dry eyes. It can be dry mouth. It can be. It's so many other dry areas.
Right. Dry. I love that. The eyes, the mouth. Urinary incontinence. So many women go through that. I remember I had to take a pill for a while because I was like, well, how is this happening? Right. I don't have to anymore. But this is the stuff that you think something else is happening. Hip pain in your hip, and women are getting hip replacement surgery.
Right.
And they're finding out it's a symptom of perimenopause. That one blew me away.
Yeah.
That one.
One of my girlfriends just explained that symptom to us this past weekend. And she said it lasted for a couple of weeks and then it stopped. And she didn't even know. She didn't realize that that's what it was until after.
Yeah. But some of the long-term effects there can also be osteoporosis, right? So when you start to have the joint pains, and you could be potentially losing bone density because of the decrease in estrogen. Right. So you have to go get tested and make sure that, the bone density is where it needs to be in order to support your bones, right? Because these are long-term things that can come out of going through menopause.
The neurologist on that show was making mention to that specific thing, that as soon as you feel the first odd symptom, start to look into it, be proactive, and push your doctor to test you, because your body and your brain is going to change from that point. And she was saying it as if there's no recovery. So let's not wait until we have 10 or more symptoms that we're dealing with, and then 8 of them have already altered our bodies to the point where
already
we
changed your life.
Exactly.
Already
the key part there too is changed your brain, right? Because once the brain changes, you can't reverse that. Right. So that was her point too on that show. Like chemically, there's some, your brain starts to change. And if you don't take the right precautions and take the right measures, right, that will be changed forever. So that's definitely something that you want to look at. I wanted to mention some of the less common symptoms too, but things that people experience, like you talked about joint pain, but sometimes people get like electric shock sensations, in their fingertips and in their toes, and there's changes in body odor. There's also
stop right there. The body odor one is another. No, it's another big one. Stop right there, because now we're using all Lumi and all that stuff, right? To deal with the odor, but that's another change. It's a chemical imbalance, right?
Yeah,
that's different. Your pH levels have changed.
Yeah.
Another aha. Maybe something's changing with me, because again, we're embarrassed because we're not, you go, oh wow, that's me, and I think this is where a lot of the embarrassment comes from. A lot of the I don't want to talk about this, but one of the things I loved about the women, and especially Halle Berry, she was up there and she didn't care what she said, and I think that's how I feel that way now too. Like, I don't give a crap. I've been through way too much in my life to now not be able to say vaginal dryness. I don't give a, why not? Why not? Right. As long as I know how to fix vaginal dryness,
there's enough stuff out there. I can figure it out.
I can figure it out. So I think that, that conversation and creating those forums and that's what the women wanted. And I love that they talked about, care, content, and conversation. That's what we need to do. We need to care about each other. We need to explain the content of what's going on in our bodies, and then have that conversation with others, so that, oh, I had that symptom too. Never forget that moment where I'm in the we was at a day spa, and we were all talking. It was three of us girlfriends talking, and we was all talking about symptoms. Lo and behold, we all three was having the same symptoms, and we was like, "Oh my gosh, are you having this symptom?" And then somebody overheard us talking, and they said, "I have this." She screamed from the other side of the locker room, "I have the same symptom too." And just because we were talking, conversating, we all was able to identify that this was not normal, that we was experiencing something that needed to be handled. And I think within a few weeks, I was able to learn how to deal with it because of that conversation.
Yeah. I wanted to mention something else too, really quickly, because we have to close out the show, but itchy skin was another one. And I just recently experienced
that was a
dermatologist telling me about. I just recently experienced a dermatologist telling me that I had eczema, which I'm still on my cycle, but I'm like, I've never had eczema a day in my life. So I know that this now is a precursor, right, to the menopause.
The menopause.
Right.
That was a symptom.
And I still have my cycle. I'm not irregular in any way, shape, or form.
But it's the imbalance now.
It's definitely a symptom. So I just wanted to mention that one too, because sometimes you may experience changes in your skin and you're like, what the heck is going on here? But we have to close out the show. I also wanted to mention there is a website called menopause.org that was shared on that special. You can go there. They have tools for you. They have a menopause book for you to check out, right? And then they also have like a community. It's called the Menopause Society now, and they have a community, and you can speak with other women. There's support groups in there, but you want to make sure that you are getting the support that you need. Be an advocate for yourself. Continue to speak up at your doctors. If it doesn't sound right to you, if it doesn't feel right to you, just don't take it lying down. Make sure that you get the answers that you need, and continue to express yourself through all of your symptoms so that you can get what you need. There are natural modalities that you can do. Reach out to us if you want to know what those are, but you can do some natural modalities too during perimenopause and then also during menopause.
And Halle Berry's group is Respin, if you're interested in learning about her group too. But
absolutely. All right, everyone. Yes, and I think we should continue to talk about this topic.
I think so, because we just touched the top of it.
as a segment, as a mention, as we learn more, we'll
An
continue
update,
to
yes.
share with you and give you updates here. We love you all.
I
We
love
thank you.
that.
Make sure that you join us here on Fem Talk next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you then.